Hello and welcome to another reaction video. This week we're reacting to more lore, and he's going to teach us more about power weapons. Obviously it's just starting in 40k, power swords and things like that are pretty obvious, but I'm interested to learn about all the other types. If you want to learn too, watch along with me. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to both me and more lore. We also have a Discord server if you're interested in joining that. So without further ado, let's learn about power weapons.
In the grim dark universe of the far future, there is only war. And when the dust settles, it's the bite of a blade that decides who walks away. Power weapons are more than just tools. They are the savage answer to the age-old question, what happens when science meets slaughter?
Nice.
From brutal close combat cleavers to Xenos energy blades that can split a tank in two, we are exploring the deadliest weapons that make 40k the brutal universe we know and love. Are you ready to see why you should absolutely bring a knife to a gunfight in 40k?
Yes.
Good. Then let's begin.
Let's learn.
Okay, let's start with what a power weapon is.
What is a power weapon?
In general terms, a power weapon is a close combat instrument that has both a physical component, often a blade or striking surface, as well as some sort of generator that covers the business end with a field of energy which disrupts solid matter.
Oh.
This gives the weapon increased armor penetration, which is needed to cut through all that futuristic protection many enemies have in this setting.
That makes sense.
Not every faction achieves this powered effect in exactly the same way, but because mechanics need to be similar across all of GW's armies, every species has their own version of these weapons, from humanity to the necron.
That makes sense from a balancing
point
of view.
Let's start with the smallest. Power blades are a classification including many types of powered knives, daggers, and similarly delicate and easily hidden weapons. Quite often, the physical blades of these knives are made weaker than their non-powered counterparts, relying instead on their power fields to do the work of penetrating any defenses. As you can imagine, power blades are most often in the hands of assassins and other stealth operatives. The concealability and unexpected power that these weapons bring being just too useful in a pinch. Power mauls are a special weapon even for this list. This is mainly due to the wide range of use that the weapon has, or rather a wide range of weapons that have been called power mauls over the course of Imperial history. Typically, a maul is not a weapon, but a tool, normally used for splitting logs, but in 40k, a maul is any hammer-like object used for splitting skulls. Or two hands. These have a blunt striking surface that can be shaped like anything from a simple bar to a full-on bladed mace head. And once a power field is introduced, the force generated by the weapon can increase to a point where they are knocking down walls. The strength of the power maul is in the variable range of its power field. Typical battlefield mauls used by warriors in close combat usually have their fields tuned to deliver crushing force many times what the user puts into it. But you can also find the power mauls in the hands of the Imperium's police force, the Adeptus Arbites, and in their hands, the maul is much more of a baton with its field tuned low enough that a slight touch delivers
they're not just killing citizens
and debilitating shock, while a full swing can break bones with ease. If you want to get really technical about it, the Astartes Thunderhammer is also a power maul, but in name only, and as it has some unique properties, we'll be going over that weapon separately later on in this list.
Nice.
If you were asked to think of a close combat weapon, 9 out of 10 times, a sword is what will pop into your brain. The sword has been the most consistent companion of warriors for most of recorded history. No other weapon is as iconic, with the possible exception of spears. So it's not a surprise then to see power swords being the most numerous weapon of this type, even among the other races of the galaxy. As an instrument of personal defense, the sword is almost unparalleled. Light and quick with the ability to keep distance with a crowd of opponents or close in for a more aggressive duel. When given a power field generator, these weapons truly shine. On its own, the sword isn't particularly good at killing something, especially something in futuristic powered armor. They often don't have the chopping power of an axe or the reach and penetrating power of a spear, but when powered, both of these issues evaporate, and the sword goes from being a good defensive option with very little killing potential to a thing that can cut through monsters and heavy armor with ease.
Nice.
And so, of course, we end up having just a staggering array of power swords across many cultures in the galaxy. The Eldari have weapons like the Dire Swords and the Mirror Swords, the Drakari have the Incubi Claves, the Necrons have Hyperphase Swords, even the Tau have their Honor Blades, but none top the Imperium. Big two-handed relic blades and power claymores, paired power falchions,
a power sword is a power claymore to a normal human.
Carmine used by the Blood Angel Sanguinary Guard. The list is truly endless. Perhaps it's because the sword is not just a weapon, but a symbol of power and authority, or maybe just that they are simple and easy to use.
Yeah, everyone
Whatever
can swing
the
a
reason,
sword, I suppose.
the power sword reigns supreme. In a universe consumed by war, the battlefield is your canvas, and strategy your weapon. Welcome to Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus, where you take control of iconic champions in thrilling turn-based combat. Whether you pledge allegiance to the Imperium, Chaos, or the Xenos, every move matters. Expand your collection, master their abilities, and compete in campaigns, live events, and epic guild battles.
I must admit,
With its
I
4.5
don't
star
play
rating
mobile
and
games all that
constant
often.
updates, Tacticus offers endless challenges for new players and seasoned Warhammer fans alike. Don't miss the Grotmas celebration featuring the Red Gobo and exclusive holiday events. Download Warhammer 40,000 Tacticus now and enter code HAPPYDEC for your starter pack of gold and black stones, only available until January 1st, so claim your destiny today. This is one of the few weapons on this list that are a human-only device, and even more specifically, it's only used by Astartes chaplains. These warrior priests have a duty to look after the spiritual well-being or corruption in the case of the heretic Dark Apostles, and use the Crozius Arcanum as both a symbol of office and a devastating melee weapon. At its most basic, a Crozius is a rod with an adjustable power field generator, making it much like the Arbites power maul we talked about earlier. A Crozius can be tuned low enough to give non-lethal shocks, or so high that, at least in one case, the user could project the field a short distance to smite targets at range. Being a symbol of office, each Crozius ends up looking slightly different. Many of them incorporate a winged skull design, turning the weapon into an axe or mace. Some chapters, like the Salamanders, make theirs look like blacksmithing hammers, and famously Chaplain Cassius of the Ultramarines had a Tyrannid skull worked into his to commemorate his fellow Tyrannic War veterans.
Nice.
Regardless of how it ends up looking, the Crozius Arcanum combines the versatility of the Power Maul with a ritualistic place in Imperial society, ensuring its continued use. Axes were mostly left behind as weapons once it became easier to make good quality swords, with the exception of pole axes,
need the cutting power
we'll
if you
talk
could just
about those in the polearm
cut a molecular
However,
level.
in the far distant future of the 42nd millennium, the axe finds new life as a brutal tool of aggression. Axes can't really parry or block, or at least not as well as any of the other weapons on this list, but an axe is very good at being both cheap to make and amplifying the power of a strike. Then they added a power field generator to it, and suddenly, a weapon that could already do a fair bit of damage was able to allow its wielder the strength to destroy armored vehicles. And with all that advanced armor, including high-tech shields, the axe's lack of defensive utility stops being such a problem. In fact, axes, powered and otherwise, have seen the most prominent use on constructs like the Eldari Wraithguard, which make use of their heavy power armor and mechanical strength to just destroy anything in their path. But, of course, the power axe will always find a home with warriors who prefer to use a good offense in place of any defense.
That's fair.
Easily the oldest weapon
we
in
do
this
get power
list,
spears.
Nothing can touch the spear's pedigree. Swords, axes, maces, hammers, polearms, none of them have been used by sentient creatures for as long as a simple
and versatile
pointy stick. It has everything going for it. Spears are easy to make and effective, using even stone and hide bindings. The reach it gives keeps the wielder much safer than a club or sword, and that same reach lends extra leverage for both parrying and better penetration on thrusts. Flash forwards to the present day of the 42nd millennium, and many races are still using this pointy stick
with a little help spear
from a power field generator. Everyone from the forces of humanity to the Eldari make excellent use of the Power Spear and its longer cavalry specialized version, the Power Lance. Mounted Astartes forces like the White Scars and Eldari warrior shrines like the Shining Spears use these much longer powered spears to make devastating charges, capable of breaching even the heaviest tank armor.
It's like old
And
school
even some
cavalry.
of the best armored infantry in the galaxy, the Adeptus Custodes, make use of the Guardian Spear, which has a bolter added to the haft for extra functionality. Whether repelling a charge or making
I
one
put a
yourself,
gun on the end of
it's
my
hard
spear.
to deny that the Power Spear is one of the most tried and true melee weapons in 40k. Polearms are a relatively broad category, covering pole hammers and axes, halberds, staves, and even more exotic weapons like scythes. Warriors of the distant past would use these two-handed instruments as their primary weapons, as they gave the benefits of reach to just about any other type of weapon they combined them with halberds specifically really being the pinnacle of this sort of versatile design, having an axe head on one side, a sharp penetrating pick on the other, and a spear blade at the top.
That's
and
really
of course,
clever.
in the far future, adding a power field to these weapons only enhances their abilities further. Pole weapons are such a force multiplier that they instantly mark out the unit carrying them as a major threat. Think of the types of warriors using these weapons. The Grey Knights and their Nemesis Force halberds, which are actually glaives, but we'll move past that for now. The Death Shroud Chaos Terminators and their power scythes, the Sororitas Celestian Sacrosaunts and their anointed halberds, the Eldari Executioners and Starglaives. We mentioned the Drakari Claves earlier, but they could also be defined as polearms. Even the Tau have versions of the Ethereal Honor Blade that are just big poleaxes. Any weapon on a two-handed shaft counts as a polearm, and in the 42nd millennium, powered versions of these weapons mark out the elite of the elite, the true melee threats on any battlefield. Okay, so here is where we shoot just a little bit, because the Thunderhammer is technically just a type of power maul, one or two-handed hammers with large striking surfaces, and a power field generator. So, why do they deserve their own entry?
In Space Marine 2.
It's not because these hammers are almost exclusively an Astartes weapon, it's because they add a special flair to their operation. They explode.
Boom!
It's probably easy to guess that a weapon with thunder in its name has some sort of explosive component, but that's Imperial naming for you. Basically, the power field of these weapons is tuned so that the bulk of the extra force expelled happens specifically at the point of impact, causing a huge shockwave that rips apart
like having
armor
a
and
grenade attached to the end of your hammer
into mush. Now, with that description, there are also a small range of other weapons that fall under the Thunderhammer, and these are inventively called power hammers. Typically, these weapons are repurposed mining tools, but they operate the same way, and their cheaper construction means they find their way into more places. Typically, the many Gene Stealer cults dotted around the Imperium, but also in the hands of the kin of the Leagues of Votan, or squat prospector parties. They are very powerful weapons, but frankly, they are much more suited to wrecking things than they are for defending the wielder, which is, of course, much less of a problem in an age where the warrior in question has the average armor or toughness of a battle tank. Continuing that trend, we have the Power Fist, probably the most visceral weapon on this list. Heavy, slow, but devastating. The Power Fist gives its user the power to tear apart heavy armor with their hands. Typically mounted inside a bulky gauntlet, the power field generator of this type of weapon serves to amplify the user's strength rather than being used for defensive purposes. Of course, this means that the user is more or less unable to react to a melee threat and has to trust their armor to keep them safe instead. As a result, we tend to see power fists on infantry with heavy armor like Astartes Terminators, or on large walkers like Dreadnoughts and Titans. But we also see these weapons on stealthy ambushers like Eldari Striking Scorpions with their Scorpion's Claws, which are indeed power fists despite the name. Even the Tau have tried to develop their own version, the Onager Gauntlet, with mixed success. Adding to this, many warriors who master the use of power fists upgrade their weapons by adding bolters, shuriken catapults, and other ranged weaponry to the fist itself, increasing the versatility and allowing them to be used as a pair to increase their effectiveness, like Ultramarine Chapter Master Marnius Caligar and his Gauntlets of Ultramar. The popularity of the Power Fists points to the idea that making one hefty attack to disable or destroy an enemy is often preferable to a drawn-out fight, and it seems the risks are paying off for everyone but the Tau anyway. Let's bring the Power Fist idea a step further with the Power Claw. It may be the far future, but obviously someone preserved some old comic books because
I was going to say, it looks so much like Wolverine claws.
A power fist with a set of claw blades on them. The Imperial Lightning
Nice.
Claw tunes the power field on the Power Fist away from dealing raw concussive
Just imagine
force
your squad
and
being
shifts
ripped
it to
apart by
wrapping the
somebody wielding
knuckle-mounted
them.
claws in a crackling energy field for penetration. This changes the focus of the weapon
That
and
looks
leads them to be made
terrifying.
lighter and in pairs to allow for a total focus on infantry shredding purposes. But that's just the Imperial version, because there is another, more brutal or possibly cunning version. That's right, it's the Orc Power Claw. This weapon is in a league of its own. Most Orc weapons, powered or otherwise, defy classification, but the Power Claw is definitely a Power Claw.
Yeah,
Typically, these
pretty
devices
obvious.
are a gauntlet with huge crushing pincer-like claws, both sharp and crushingly powerful. Basically, the Orcs took a look at the Power Fist and the Lightning Claw and said, why not both?
That's
Power
very
claws
Orcs.
are typically not used in pairs, and they are certainly not as fast as paired lightning claws, but it doesn't really matter. These weapons are so powerful that some Orc bosses even have their arms removed to permanently add their claw as part of their body. That is dedication.
That is dedication.
But of course, that's hardly all of the
Power
weapons that can
everything
have a power
else.
field generator added to them. This technology has been around for millennia in the 40k setting, and that amount of time tends to breed some really wacky combinations. We won't go into great detail here, but we're sure you could have guessed at some of these. Powered brass knuckles are an easy one,
Nice.
sort of like a stripped-down power fist. Power picks, another mining tool often found in the hands of insurgent
Yeah, I
forces,
suppose they're
like the
very
Gene
useful for
Stealer
mining.
cults. Power wrenches, sometimes found in use by Orc mech boys. There's even a power stake used by the Inquisition on heretical psychers that incorporates a power field to allow for use against more enemies than just those that are warp tainted. So yeah, if you can think of it, chances are someone has tried to put a power field on it. Well, we certainly made our weapons experts earn their keep on this one. The context for many of these tools of war are not things that GW translates to the tabletop mechanics too often, but their place in the overall story of Warhammer 40k gives a flavor that we just don't find in other universes.
That's true.
As usual, we could not
Unless
cover
you're talking
every
like
power weapon
maybe a
in this one
lightsaber.
video, so if you'd like to give our weapons experts more opportunity to
Yeah.
info dump about their favorite subject, hit that like button and subscribe
I
so that
definitely
you
learned
never miss
something.
out on any more lore.
Well, I certainly learned a lot this video. Big thanks to More Lore for making these videos. I really enjoyed learning about the power weapons. I mean, they're so prevalent, but there's definitely some varieties in there I didn't know about. So I hope you guys learned something. I definitely did. If you enjoyed the video, obviously don't forget to like and subscribe. And as a bonus, I also attached a reaction to the new Heresy trailer. So stick around for that. This will be after here. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as always, and I will see you in the next one. Enjoy the reaction to the trailer. I'm excited for this. We haven't seen much from the Horus Heresy in a little while.
I was there when he painted this.
Ooh.
An oddity among his schematics and calculations.
Oh, it's about the Emperor.
Yet,
I think it
they
is.
seemed to help him. A way he could express the enormity of his plan.
Oh, it must be a Sister of Silence. I have no idea why they don't
Not
talk. I
if the
really liked them
legions are
though.
successful.
I have no idea who the other guy is.
It depends on how deep the rot goes.
Oh crap. Oh no way! Salamanders! My boys! Get 'em! Oh shit! That's absolute chaos. Oh, they look so cool. The armor looks a bit over the top, but they still look pretty awesome. that is a big boy.
The attack failed.
How many?
Half of the legions now stand with Horus.
You're surprised?
In the
Oh, I
end,
think I know who this is.
Do you wonder if they might be
Malkador,
right?
I think.
Many will sympathize with their rebellion.
I think he carries a staff like that.
I am the Emperor's spear. What I think doesn't matter.
What now, then?
We make ready for a war that may never end.
Ah, epic! That's awesome. These trailers are absolute bangers.